Hello, everyone, and welcome to Imagi-Nation TV. My name is Rianne Miller, and I'm meeting you today from the lands of the Gubbi Gubbi people. I'm a proud Wirangu, Narunga, and Wongai woman, and one of the 4 co-CEOs at AIM this year. And my journey started all the way back in 2014 as a student in the AIM program. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the Op Shop. So for those of you who aren't aware of what the Op Shop is, on December 1st, we launched AIM Op Shop to support 100,000 marginalised kids by 2025. It's the first digital Op Shop that brings together people who want to make a better world and a better place for their soulful creations and stories and how they were made. We're talking about hoodie economics, we're talking about unlikely connections, and we're going to be doing a little co-design session today to imagine the Op Shop of the future. I'm going to be joined alongside my co-host, Cam Northey. Cam, why don't you take yourself off mute? Tell us a little bit about what you do at AIM and your journey here, and then what you're looking forward to today.
Thanks so much, Ree. My name's Cam. I'm the resident t-shirt guy here at AIM. I'm coming to you from Wongal country here in the west of Sydney. I'm originally from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and my background is of the Ngāti Tūkorohe Hapu or sub-tribe of the more broad Ngāti Raukawa iwi. So Op Shop, that's what we're chatting today. This is my first time hosting, so I'd appreciate if everyone can just go easy on me. In December, we kicked off the Op Shop. The idea behind it is sort of curate the most unlikely and inspiring items in the world on our shop for people to come by and check out and donate to. If you haven't already, please get over there and have a look. I'm really excited today to have a super interesting crew of people. These are people that have supported the Op Shop either by donating or by purchasing something. Let's chuck over to them now. Shawnee, you there, bro?
Good morning, Cam. Thanks for having me, mate.
Sure, brother.
What do you want me to do here?
Why don't you introduce yourself, tell me where you're coming from, and a little bit about what you've been doing up in Darwin, bro.
All right, mate. Thank you, Cam. Shawnee Edwards, here on Larrakia country up in Darwin. So super great. Work and live on country. We create territory-inspired garments. So it's one of the graphics that we do. So everything's all about the territory. And we raise as much funds as we can, and then we reinvest it back into social programs in remote Indigenous communities. So I grew up out in Arnhem, in a little place called Humbalanya. If anyone knows where that is, it's about 400 k's west of Darwin. My passion's always been about going far and as remote as possible. So super fortunate to have the opportunity to create my own business and then have some impact along the way.
I love that, bro. Thanks so much, man. We'll be coming back. I want to chat to you a little bit more about that shortly. Have we got Jeremy on here?
Yes, we do.
Now, mate, thanks for joining us. You were one of the first and most eager donors we had for the Op Shop, which we really appreciate because it takes momentum. It takes people getting on board early for these things to pick up steam. So we really appreciate you jumping on board. Could you tell us a little bit about the artwork that you donated and more yourself in general and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Jeremy Kay. I'm currently based in Byron Bay with my dear friend Dan. We jumped on really early because obviously working with Dan closely, I got aware of this beautiful organization early, and I always been interested to give my heart a bit more depth and obviously giving back to the world. as an artist, I'm really lucky to be doing what I love for a living. And obviously I wish more kids around the world get the chance to do the same. And I will be donating a few artworks actually. There's about six artwork sitting in my studio right now that are ready to go online and hopefully sell. I don't have any photos for you right now, but I will show you soon. Anything else you'd like to know?
That's great, bro. We'll come back to you, bro. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Andrea, Misha, are you online?
Yeah, we're here. I think.
Wonderful. Yeah, I've got you. So you guys have a wonderful story, I think, about how you got involved with the op shop. Do you mind recounting that for our viewers quickly?
Yeah, sure. I suppose that's my cue. I'm Andrea. We're here. Living in the West. Very lucky to be on Wongal land. Where should I start? So I'm a parent, mother of three. This is my eldest child, Misha. Misha in the last 2 years has been an HSC student, and that's been really, really tough and difficult for them and their whole cohort, as we've all had this shared experience of disruptions and difficulties with this wonderful thing called COVID. And Misha is a person who's interested in the arts. They did textiles and music as some of their subjects for their HSC. And during this period of time, I just watched as, they just tried to do their best under really tough circumstances. I have known of AIM for a little while. It's been present at Misha's school. It was one of the things that I follow on Instagram and other sort of social media platforms and get some emails. And I'm also a fan of Yale Stone, who is one of the supporters and an ambassador for AIM. And just happened to be one day I was, spending some time on the Instagram and saw a video where she was showing off her amazing dress that she wore to the Logies. And she was saying, well, I've donated this dress to the AIM op shop and you can buy it. And I kind of saw it and went, really? Like, really? And it's this by this amazing Australian designers. And it just also kind of came together. And then she said, oh, and if you buy it today, you'll get half an hour of time with me to chat about anything that you want. And I kind of looked at it and went, oh yeah, that's probably already gone. Isn't that really cool? What a wonderful person doing an amazing thing with an amazing organization that's really giving back to the world and to young people, which is what we all need at the moment, and kind of thinking about how all these young people have struggled in the last couple of years. And I thought, oh, that's probably already gone. So I kind of just forgot about it for 5 minutes. And then it kind of came back into my head and I went, well, I'm just going to go see if it's still there. And it was, and I went, yeah, why not? And so I bought it as a gift for Misha because they've done just such an amazing job. They've just sort of put themselves, they've just survived something that was really, really tough. And I wanted them to have something to sort of go, this is something really special. And I remember, to have a memory that happened in the last 2 years that is something that brings joy. So that's what we did. Yes. That's the story.
Yeah, that's everything.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. That's beautiful. Hopefully people watching this can get in some inspiration to head over if you haven't supported already and have a look. And there's some more inspiring items on there. But thanks so much for joining us. Chris, you here, bro?
Yeah. Nice one. Thanks, Cam. That was such a beautiful story, Andrew and Misha. Well, I think it's amazing to see the connections that the op shop brings. I think, in terms of bringing more people into the AIM universe, kind of contribute, and then, connecting to amazing people, kind of that AIM connects with every day. So I think that's really, I've got like goosebumps. So that's so good. Yeah, so I think I fit into this. I'm on the, really fortunate to be on the AIM board. So, work closely with kind of like Jack and the team. And, I think when I sort of saw the op shop, kind of emerge as, kind of one of the, kind of really interesting ideas that always, kind of bubble up from AIM. I just felt like it was this huge opportunity, to really kind of, probably like work with all of the people that want to work with AIM, to kind of be able to give back in some little way, and kind of as a kind of something that can raise funds, but also something that can kind of make connections. And so I guess I'm here to just help in any way possible, and kind of have some chats. And it was really cool to see some early Subi pieces up there from Dan. Kind of we can talk about maybe some of the unlikely connection between me and Dan in that early period of Subi, maybe a little later in the call. But yeah, just really inspired and happy to be here to help in any way.
Thanks so much, Chris. It's great to have you here and to be part of the long-term vision of what we've been trying to do at AIM for the last couple of years now. Dan, whilst we're on the topic of Subi, I would love for you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your journey to AIM and what it is that you do here.
Okay, hey, I'm Dan, Single is my name. I'm on Bundjalung country, and I am here today to talk about many things. So how I got to AIM. I started a career in fashion when I was about 20 years old, started a label called Subi with a few friends of mine. And that led on the opportunity from starting, like following your dream. I kind of never had to do a job, never had to go to university or do a job that was anything but creating and working, making things for our people around us. It was the fun journey, and I got to travel and meet some wonderful people and collaborate with some of my heroes. So that was the opportunity that following my dreams and just working on things that I loved gave me. So that was kind of Subi. And then I ended up coming to AIM about 4 years ago now. And after 1 or 2 days a week, turned into 3 or 4 days, turned into 5 or 6 days, turned into 7 days plus. And I ended up becoming creative director alongside Jack. And I've been here for 3 years working on all kinds of weird, wonderful and beautiful, world-changing events.
Weird, wonderful and beautiful world-changing events. What a accurate way to summarize what the journey is that you've been on. Now, I'd love for us to go to the next part of the show, which is essentially a panel. We did have a couple key guests lined up for this, but in the pre-show, we were like, why not just throw it open to everyone? We've got a bunch of different minds and creatives and people on this call. So feel free to jump in at any point, ask questions to one another, answer the questions, or if you've got anything else you'd like proposed, know that this is the time to do that and to find out as much as you possibly can about the op shop. Chris, I'm going to start it off by asking you a question of what do you think moves people, and why is creativity important?
Yeah, wow. I mean, creativity is important because I think it's the only thing that is kind of innately human in a way. Like, I think, when you see those kind of, so everything's getting like automated and machines are coming in and this and that. But I think, kind of creativity and the way like our minds work and being able to, put something into the universe that's never been created before is something that's like truly special. So yeah, look, I think without that, then, the world would be a pretty boring place, right? Like, and we wouldn't kind of be innovating and moving forward, like, without without kind of what we're creating. I think I forgot the first part of the question, but hopefully that's kind of.
Yeah, that definitely nailed it. And
Nailed it.
Definitely. And I think, what you've said about the world being a boring place, if we didn't have creativity and machinery and things to be able to connect people. And on the topic of I suppose those interpersonal connections, Jeremy, I'd love to know if there's been an instance where you've been able to see a direct impact based off of the artwork or the work that you produce.
Sorry, you mean on children?
Yeah, on children, on anyone's life, on humans. Like, has there been an experience that you've been able to connect to?
Of course, I like to think the artwork I'm currently making is pretty interactive, and it gives a lot of space to kids or anyone who's looking at it, space to imagine and make your own interpretation of what you're seeing. And obviously the new work is interactive. It's using light to change its color. And I like to challenge people to, get into their own head and try to find their own meaning to what they're seeing, which is totally different to what the world is kind of trying to constantly give you a meaning of what you're seeing. Now you just have to retreat to your own thinking and analyze what you're seeing. And I think coming back to what you said about children and being creative, it's so important to me because like the famous quote from Picasso, every child is born an artist. It's how they stay artists when they grow up. And I think the tool is creativity. So giving creativity to kids allows the future generation of artists to be raised and come to the world, I guess.
That's awesome, mate. Thanks so much for sharing. Shawnee, I got one for you, bro. Here at
Yeah, bro.
Here at AIM, look, we talk a lot about hoodie economics, which is about prioritizing the exchange of time and knowledge and opportunities, and that's really was sort of a part of the thought process behind the op shop. Now, you touched on it early in your introduction, but you've built a really exciting sort of creative hub up there in Darwin over the last few years with House of Darwin. And what's inspired you instead of just sort of doing that for yourself? You're spending a lot of time out in remote areas. Can you share a bit about that and sort of what the thought process is that's got you motivated to share some of that success?
Yeah, it's a bit of a long one. It actually kind of started when I was living with Mr. Dan Single, who's on the call in Los Angeles, and spending quite a bit of time bouncing between the big cities, Chicago and and I was meeting all these interesting people and artists and business people. And, I come from a really small town in Darwin. We got 130,000 people, and my mum grew up in Arnhem Land, where there's about 1,000 people. 95% of are Indigenous people. I grew up on the wetlands, on a floodplain, where 6 months of the year the water would rise and we'd get trapped off from the rest of the world, and the only way you could get in was on an aeroplane. To give you a bit of context, so once I left this part of the world, I always wanted to bring people back. So I was actually driving. I'm not sure if you remember this, Dan, but we're talking about what I was going to do after I'd finished at AIM, and I wanted to bring everyone back to the territory and house them. So we came up with the name House of Darwin, because I'd met all these interesting people. I wanted to bring them back to Darwin and share their ideas and knowledge with my community. So, some of the trips that we've done so far off the back of this clothing brand, Passport, which is one of the biggest skating brands in Australia, if not in the world, came up last year, brought their pro skateboard team, and we built half pipes in Darwin and barged them to tropical islands around the territory. And then, basically did a skate trip across the NT, teaching kids a new sport, because sport up here is religion. It's a way of life. So yeah, that's sort of what I've been up to, Cam, and the reason behind it. Probably started, when I first went to boarding school as a 13, 14-year-old in Melbourne, and saw a Porsche or something for the first time, and obviously only seen Toyota Land Cruisers where I was from. So, yeah.
That's sick, man. And then you've also worked with some footy clubs as well, haven't you? Talking about sport being religion. I know you've done some trips with some equipment out there.
Yep. Yeah. So part of my background as well as a professional athlete for 7 years. So I played for the Sydney Swans, the Bombers, and the Giants, which is really cool. And it's an easy way to create a relationship straight off the bat with a kid out in the community who's taking a footy out there. So when we launched the brand a couple of years ago, I had this old 1993 Land Cruiser, and we raised about 20 grand. And I filled up the Land Cruiser to the brim with footies, hats, bibs, footy jumpers donated from all those footy teams, and just drove around to all the homelands. So for people who aren't aware of the remote community life, you usually have a township. And then you have remote homelands where people live like on their country, basically in like a little house where they have an airstrip, and that's it. So I like to go as far as I can out that way, and pass on some resources and some footies that might be able to lead a kid down into a positive pathway.
Incredible, Shawnee. Andrea, I'd love to throw back to you and ask, we've been able to hear so far a little bit about some of the different things that are coming into the op shop or that have been in the op shop. And I'd love to know how you think we can make a difference for, you know, students like Misha, students like those at their school, to be able to feel the outcome and the impact of the work that's being produced. So how do you think we can positively impact more kids to be able to work towards alleviating inequality by 2025?
Thanks, Reed. That's like a really simple, easy question. Oh my God, that's huge. Right. Okay. Well, I think it's. I mean, I'm just kind of still processing all the stuff that Sean was saying, and I just think that's just so amazing. And what everyone else has said on this panel. You know, as a parent, I guess that's the only thing I can sort of speak to. And I was basically a full-time volunteer. I've done a lot of work at schools and also in the local sporting community. So I'm really, all this, particularly what Sean was saying, is really resonating with me. And, you know, you see the kids who need help. You can see kids, and you know that it's something as simple as, not simple, but it's that connection. So, you know, go back to what Chris was saying, and you know, and it's that creating a point of connection, whether it's through sport or whether it's through art or something creative. I think that's what really can change a child's life, is when they're seen, and not seen in a really, you know, I don't know, like sort of kind of condescending or, you know, kind of, you know, I see you, I am this big adult and I can see you kind of thing. But it's when you see someone as a human being and they're seen as who they are, and they feel respected and cared. And I think it's that kind of a connection. You know, so I mean, what AIM does, you know, and it could probably, the op shop's probably a really good idea. You know, it's really good that the op shop will you know, create a bit of a, not quite a buzz, but it'll bring people in and create connections, and you'll hear about these amazing artists and what Sean's doing, and you'll be able to kind of go as someone who's out here in the world going, you know, that's really amazing what this organisation does, and what all these other organisations coming together are doing. You know, what can I do to help these people go out and do these amazing things? Because I can't drive a truck out in the Northern Territory full of footies, even though I really would love to. It sounds like so much fun. And I'm not an artist. I can't contribute in that way. But I think, you know, there are other ways in which people like me who want to support organisations like AIM to do these kind of things. I mean, it's connecting also through, I guess, through schools. I mean, kids are at school, you know, sometimes whether they like it or not. And they can kind of see that, you know, I think if someone comes into a school and talks about what they do and gives them ideas or opportunities and gives them kind of just vision as well. You know, I really love listening to the stories of you know, what Sean's done in all his different life and what Dan's done. You know, and this is what I did, and I did this, and then I did this, and this is where I followed. Sometimes I think schools tend to give kids this idea that you have to make this one decision in your life, and you do that, you know that's very rigid kind of concept of what life journeys are about. You know, don't get me started on that kind of thing, but that's one of the things that I was trying with Misha the whole time while they were doing their HSC, to kind of go, it's not that, like, it's important, but it's not important. Like, it's important, but it's not. It's not, you know, your life's not going to just, you know, end as soon as this process of the HSC is done, because we're in New South Wales. You know, once this is done, actually your life's about to begin, and there's going to be this amazing, all these amazing opportunities for you to go out there and do things. But it's hard as a parent who's not in that space to kind of share that, which is why, like, something like this is really amazing, because, you know, if kids kind of sit down and go, oh, look, that's what that person did, and that's what that person did. And actually, I'm pretty creative, and I really like creating stuff, and I like doing art, or I like the idea of, you know, getting involved in something that contributes. I think that's where, you know, kids can see that they can actually do more than what they think they can.
What a beautiful response, Andrea. Thank you for that. I've got a question for you, Misha, if you wouldn't mind. I would love to know, what's your creative outlet? What do you like to create? What do you like to do?
It's always been a mix of things. So like I was always into doing visual art stuff, but it sort of morphed into a lot of textile based stuff. Like I have my sewing machine upstairs. I have throughout the HSC, I not only like made stuff for my course, I also made stuff for myself, and having that ability just to like, even though we were in lockdown, to sit down at my machine and make something that I love, or sort of like used some old patterns to make something with like an old fabric. I think that was my creative outlet mostly during the HSC. That as well as music. I play the flute and piano, and being able to just pick up those instruments and sort of transport myself into a different realm and sort of exist in this timeless space, even though I was restricted to like my room or my house. That really helped create spaces for growth and independence and like exploration in times where there was a lot of restriction, both academically and like physically because of lockdown and stuff. But yeah, those have been my main creative outlets over the last period of time. But yeah, always been interested and always been mesmerized by art. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love the idea of, you know, these outlets being able to take you to your own creative realm. And I think, you know, like you said something after that around it being your chance for growth and for opportunities and for self-development. And I think that summarizes so incredibly well why we do what we do. And it's about putting creatives on the forefront, because we know that in order to be able to create a better future for kids like yourself and for kids around the world, we have to be able to imagine new realities and problem solve. And yeah, just go dive deep into those imaginative realms to truly imagine what's possible. Chris, I could see you shaking your head and agreeing throughout everything that Misha was saying then. Do you have any comments or anything to follow up with?
I mean, I think, yeah, look, I think that's fantastic, you know, kind of that Misha, you know, I think that ability to kind of escape, you know, like kind of the world and your worries and things like that through creativity is something that's so strong. And I think, you know, something Andrew mentioned as well about, you know, I think for a lot of kids, you know, especially in the education system that we've sort of got in Australia, there is this real feeling that like it all comes up to this one moment and you've kind of got this one shot. And, you know, it's like the Eminem song, Lose Yourself or something, you know, like if you screw this up, what's going to happen? But it's really like, you know, kind of, it's like the HSC or like, you know, the end of school is just like the start of the rest of your life and, you know, kind of connections and, you know, kind of putting yourself out there and being creative and, you know, kind of building networks around you. Like, you know, the more people you speak to, the more opportunities you'll see. I mean, I think Dan's probably the perfect example of this, right? Where it's like, I think everyone, you know, kind of, you know, has kind of sort of mentioned a connection that they've had with Dan. And I think Dan's like just such a natural connector. And even for me, like, you know, kind of my, you know, in the business world, like, you know, kind of most people know me as like the founder of like pedestrian.tv, but I don't even know if we would have kind of, the first major break that we ever had was this interview with Dan back in, I think like 2004 when I was 21. And, you know, me and my, you know, kind of other co-founder of Pedestrian, Oscar, we were starting this kind of DVD magazine thing, which we were going to give out for free. No one had ever done it. No one knew who we were because we hadn't released anything. And we, you know, Oscar knew someone who worked at Subi and, you know, kind of they asked Dan whether they would do an interview, and Subi never did interviews. And, you know, I think they'd only ever done like one thing with like 60 minutes or something. But then for some reason, and I don't know why, they kind of let us to come in and film, you know, this sort of, for this DVD magazine that had never kind of been released. And, you know, having that chat with Dan is just like etched into my brain. And, you know, that was, you know, hugely inspiring because it was a business and, you know, kind of this organization and the creativity of what they were doing just inspired me so much to kind of go out and do my own thing. And then to be able to kind of get that interview in that time with Dan and to have Subi on that first issue, it, you know, really was this like landmark moment for us and kind of, you know, helped to get that whole sort of ball rolling and, you know, take two people to when, you know, by the time we finished up with pedestrian, it was like 100 people, you know, kind of in the organization, and, you know, like that, the output was kind of, you know, pretty insane. But again, like, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for, you know, I guess someone who was successful and creative, but maybe like a bit further along in their journey, you know, kind of taking a chance on some young kids with an idea. So yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually like properly thanked you, Dan, but I've really got to say, like, thank you so much, because it was like, yeah, it was a complete breakthrough for us. And, you know, you had absolutely no reason to have to do it. But I guess, you know, it shows the power of connections and creativity to bring people together and then to create new things in the world. So yeah, thanks, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome, Chris. It's so nice. It warms my heart. Yeah, we always, I don't know what it was, but I was always like to help young people that you can tell are like really into what they're doing and on a hustle and like doing things for the right reasons. Like, I could just tell that you guys like really wanted to be working on something, and you had a great plan, and lots of the other people, they just kind of do it for just fleeting moments or like just to have a little chat with Subi. But I was like, no, these guys are trying something. Let's give it a go. We always try to help, and people, I'd not always been helped, but when some of my most breakthrough moments were when people just unexpectedly like helped me, that some bigger fashion people, and when we started collaborating with people like Kanye's and people like you would never expect that they're people you're going to work with, but they're really into it because you can just tell when you get an energy click. So yeah, that's why. And that's really nice. I heard that you were maybe looking at some of the Subi pieces to purchase from the op shop.
Yeah, I know. I think yeah. I have got my eye on the static jeans, so I might need to make a little purchase after this. So yeah, it's
more than Gus the Hood Rat.
Oh really?
For our
I actually recognize those. Yeah, because I think we were filming.
I get Gus to sign for you.
Awesome. Yeah, we were filming a lot of them at the time, and I mean, obviously, like, you know, had Gus on the DVDs tons as well. It's like, you know, and I was last night, like in preparation for this last night, I was just having all these flashbacks of just, you know, that sort of mid 2000s, like, you know, kind of Sydney and all the interviews we did, and like Ajax and, you know, like you guys, and it was just, I don't know, there was some real magic, right, being created, and it's just like, you know, again, just connections and people coming together and everything like that. So
yeah, it was a special time in Sydney. But I think the thing was, maybe, I don't know if it happens so much now because I'm not so much in the like scene of brand building and like things happening in Australia. I've been traveling a lot for the last 10 years. But that was a time when not everyone, but everyone within our crew was all about connecting people, and it was just helping friends. And then, like you said, with people you didn't know each other, but you knew that this person knew that person. So, and they're trying to do something, let's connect. And the connections were so important because there's so many young brands and bands and music things and art that all came out of that time because everyone was willing to give each other like an opportunity. And I don't know if it happens so much anymore, but that is, the power of connections is a very important thing. It was a great to connect. It was great to connect again. On AIM, yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, yeah, like, you know, kind of going back, you know, Rian, to your point about, you know, Misha, I think that's the thing, right? Like, the more you do, the more you create, the more you put out there, like that energy is really, it's magnetic, right? You know, people will seek it out, and they seek out people who are doing like-minded things, and they're seeking out people who, you know, are just doing something kind of to what you said, Dan, like for a fleeting moment. They're seeking people out who are doing things because they believe in it and they couldn't possibly kind of want to be doing anything else in the world. So, and I think, you know, that really comes down to, you know, probably like the power of what AIM can kind of, you know, bring to the table, but also just the power of like every individual kid and helping them to find that space to be able to unlock, you know, kind of that creative drive within themselves. Because I think, you know, kind of when you're doing something that you're that's creative and that you really love, then you just want to keep doing it over and over again. And it builds, you know, kind of a whole world around you of like people who are like-minded, and that can lead you into a million different directions.
100%. I mean, we've talked unlikely connections, we've talked mentoring, we've talked creativity. I'd love to open it up to all of you on the call and ask, why do op shops exist? What's the purpose of them? Does anyone know?
To well, the name Op Shop is Opportunity Shop, and to raise money for people outside of the margins. This is the word we use, but for people in need. And I guess the formula came up with just taking things that people didn't need to raise money for people in need, which is a really simple and beautiful idea. There's, instead of wasting and throwing away things, then you can donate things that would help people that don't have those things. They don't necessarily get the things, but they get money from the things. That's kind of simply it, I guess, isn't it? My battery's gonna die. I might have to join from my phone, just saying.
Cam, I know you've been in the apparel team for a couple of years now. How do op shops tie in with the work that we're trying to do now? What can we learn from this first iteration of the op shop, which is closing on Friday, end of this week, and relaunching again in March while we restock? So what can we learn? What can we do for the next iteration or season of the op shop?
I think thematically, it seems like the theme of the day really ties back to what AIM is all about, which is like mentoring. It's been beautiful to see, you know, we've got Chris and Shawnee here, who are both like different generations of, and Misha as well, of emerging creatives that Dan has like played a part in, and all through connections. So, you know, that was really beautiful just to watch that exchange there and sort of see how we all sort of wove together. But with that in mind, we all about unlikely connections at AIM, and that's sort of what we've seen here on this call today. And that's what we think with the next range of the op shop, what we're hoping to go bigger and better. We've had some really enthusiastic engagement, as we can see from the people on this call. We've had artists like Jeremy that have just put their hand up to jump on board and not ask for anything in return, which is really what like the ethos of AIM is in a lot of ways, for people to be giving back. So I guess it ties into just more broadly the work that we do and hope to be doing in the future. And if you haven't, get on there and check it out. Shawnee, can we count on you to send a couple of teas, bro, for us to chuck up for the next range? What do you reckon? Put the hard press on you when I got you on the call, bro. What do you reckon?
More than we can ask, more than teas. Come on.
Yeah, whatever you want, mate. Just hit me with the wish list.
Yeah, brother.
And Dan, I just want to say, I bought the jeans. I'd actually love if you would sign them.
I'll sign it for sure. And Gus is coming back because he's living in London, but he's back soon. So I'll get Gus to sign them, and I'll sign them as well. And you probably will fit.
Awesome. Yeah. I know, probably will.
You will.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
How good.
No, man. Like, thanks so much for like, you know, donating to the cause. And as I said, like, you know, without the connection we made with you, like, I don't think we would have ever like kind of got off the ground and everything like that. So, you know, I owe a lot to you. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And the 100,000 kids we're going to work with by 2025 will thank you too.
So we've just to recap, we've pressured Shawnee Edwards into donating some House of Darwin merch. Chris, whilst on the call, has purchased some Subi pants, I believe. Jeremy has about 6 artworks in his studio ready to go, and know that. Oh, and Andrea has purchased Yale Stone's dress for Misha, and know that we're super thankful for all of you for believing in the op shop, in AIM, and most importantly in what the future looks like for kids to be able to express themselves creatively and have the platform to be able to do that. Do any of you on the panel have any questions for each other before we skip to the next part?
Yeah, I just have to say, hey, Misha, how do you feel about having such a wise and thoughtful and great mum with such great advice? Because what she said before, I was like, wow, that is some cool ass momming right there. You're very lucky.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. She just blows me away so often. The last 18 years, I couldn't ask for anything more. It's just been awesome. And she's been like single parenting for a bunch of them. So it's just every day she inspires me. And all my friends also acknowledge how epic my mum is. And everyone knows how awesome she is. And everyone knows how much she puts in. And it's just, I couldn't be luckier. Yeah, thanks for
unrelated to
contributing that.
Hey,
Okay.
good on you, Andrea.
Okay, so on the op shop as well, we have a bunch of things, like we've said, that people have donated. And one item that is up is a set of carvings made by Tyson Yunker Porter as part of the knowledge sharing that is Sand Talks. And so Tyson looks at global systems from an Indigenous perspective. He asks how contemporary life diverges from the pattern of creation, how it affects us, and how we can do things differently. And he's written a book called Sand Talk, which provides a template for living. It's about how lines and symbols and shapes can help us make sense of the world that we live in. It's about how we learn and how we remember. It talks about everybody listening and listening carefully. And it's about finding different ways to look at things. And most of all, it's about Indigenous thinking and knowledge systems and how they can change the world. So we have a video from Satoshi, who is one of the people who has put a bid on one of Tyson's products. And now he couldn't be here with us today. So he sent in a video to talk about why this was so important to him. So let's flick to that now.
My name is Satoshi Sanada. I'm with the Department of Education and Training Victoria. Currently in the lands of Boonwurrung people of Kulin Nation. I usually live and work in Woiwurrung, Wurundjeri people's land. As you can tell by my accent and my name, I'm a migrant, I'm a visitor to this place, and I guess the question of whether I have come to the land with a good purpose is something I constantly think about. The reason why I'm bidding on Tyson's carvings, that's actually quite interesting experience. I received, I guess, a connection request from Tyson just a few weeks before the auction starting, and initially for some reason it didn't click. Eventually I just realized that I read his books, The Sand Talks, and prior to my current job, I used to be a school teacher teaching things like philosophy, humanities, languages, research. So obviously any, I guess, conversations around, I guess, theories of knowledge or sort of purpose of knowing, how we gain knowledge, how we share knowledge, and what we do with the knowledge is something that I feel quite interested in. So yeah, that was interesting connection. I like the kind of serendipitous connections. What would it mean for me if I was to win the auction? I guess in a very individualistic and narcissistic way, I feel like I'm a part of this bigger conversation, which I hope will continue to happen. But I guess I'm already a part of the conversation, so it doesn't matter if I win or not. But I think my aspiration is to go back to teaching one day, and if I do, I'd like to take Tyson's book and the carvings into classroom, just to stimulate more conversations with my students, but also I guess with my colleagues as well. And I can do that with my current job in the Department of Education too. What I think about the approach to celebrate stories and experience over things, I must confess I'm a pretty materialistic person. All my colleagues know that I've got more musical instruments than anybody would ever need. But I'm aware that these instruments are merely instruments, interface. When I first came to Australia, I couldn't speak the language, so pretending to play music was, I guess, something that kind of helped me feel like I belonged to the local community. I was up in North Queensland, and as a result of that, I think I've got a pretty amazing experience out of that. So I'm very, very thankful. But at the same time, clearly these instruments, these things are secondary to stories and experience. So obviously, it's a stories and experience I am really looking for. So that's my take on that.
And just to recap the show and what's been shared today, the op shop closes end of this week, and we'll have a holding period until March while we restock and get in some new co-designed products. Chris, I loved throughout the show how you spoke about the world being a boring place without creativity, and that every child was born an artist, and giving creativity to kids allows future generations to give to the world. Jeremy, I love that the artwork that you produce gives space to imagine, and it allows other people to make their own interpretation to what they're seeing, and makes them really challenge their thoughts. Sean, I love how you've been bettering communities by bringing together people from all walks of life and sharing ideas and knowledge, and really making that impact on the ground with the kids every single day. Andrea, you talked about being able to change a child's life when they're seen, and when they're seen as equal and human as respected. And thank you for leading the way with that, and for raising a wonderful Misha, who spoke about creative realms and imagination and mentoring and unlikely connections, and the importance of people being able to come together to create, and then most importantly find their own source of happiness or contentness within that. Cam, how are you feeling after your first hosting gig of Imagi-Nation TV and the incredible guests we've had on today?
Look, the nerves are up, Bree, at the start, I'll be honest, but having such a wonderful panel has been super helpful, and it's really highlighted to me just how rich like the wider AIM community is, and just sharing some of those stories. It was really very little work for me to do once we just got to listen to these wonderful stories. So as you mentioned, the op shop's wrapping up. Get over there in the next couple of days. Otherwise, in March, check it out. I'd like to say one last massive thanks for everyone that's watching, and also for everyone that's supported us. Sure.
Oh,
That's us.
thank you guys. See you soon.
How good.